You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump, 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 jump.
So what is DCC? Today we're talking about Decentralized Confidential Computing, which is the next big wave to hit the blockchain industry. Why is DCC so important? Why is confidential computing so important? It is because imagine if you lived in a glass house and you had no curtains on your windows. Everyone could see everything that you're doing all the time. That's not an ideal situation, is it? So blockchain is like that. Blockchain is just this glass house where everyone can see everything you're doing, can see your financial transactions, what data you have, and what we're looking for now is to transform blockchain into something that can be a usable technology for the future. We want confidential computing so that when people have sensitive or protected data, they don't have to put it out in the clear on the internet or on the blockchain. Instead, what we see often today is that people are taking their applications, building them on blockchain, and then they're taking their sensitive data and taking it off-chain, putting it into a database, putting it into a warehouse, putting it into centralized third-party apps. But this doesn't work because that means it's not decentralized anymore. So we have these blockchain hybrid applications, and all of the data is still just as vulnerable as if we had regular Web 2 applications. So what we're looking for is the ability to have Web 3 applications that go end-to-end on-chain. We start with blockchain applications. They have data. They encrypt the data, keep it on-chain, and then it moves to the decentralization portion of it. So we have data protection, we have security, secured by multiple nodes, we have redundancy, all the great things that blockchain brings. So I invite everybody to come sit down. We're going to get started with our first speaker in a moment.
All right. All right, so we're about to start the DCC day. I'm not sure if everyone here knows what DCC is. DCC is Decentralized Confidential Computing. It's a new narrative that we're pushing together with a large group of companies. And in this talk, I'll try to convince you that DCC is actually inevitable. And we'll talk a little bit about what it is and why it's important. All right. Thank you guys for coming, and I'm excited to be at this DCC day. Again, it's a new narrative. It's already a third DCC day that we're having as side events in different large conferences, and it will be growing. So let's go. DCC is inevitable. This is the new branding of TeSecret Network. By the way, I'm Alex. I'm CEO of SCRT Labs, the builder company behind TeSecret Network, which is a DeCC network. All right, so let's go. The Web3 Dream, right? Why are we all here? Why are we all here? What is the dream that the people who started this whole beautiful movement, what is the dream they had? So look at the Web3 Foundation front page, homepage. They want to deliver Web 3.0, a fair internet where users control their own data, right? We all know that Web 2 is broken in many ways. What started as a beautiful democratic internet where everybody could put up their website and attract their users, so now we're down to 3-4 companies that are controlling everything, right? If Google doesn't want you to exist online, you will not exist online. Nobody will find you. If Facebook wants to ban you, you don't have a way to speak to anyone, right? So that's the mission of Web3, to essentially replace Web 2, to build a better world where we control our own destiny and where everything is democratic, where there's no censorship, right? This recent book by Chris Dixon, a great book, by the way. I recommend it heartily. Read, Write, Own. So he actually, in those 3 words, he explains the history of the internet. The first internet, Web 1, was read, right? You went to a web page and read what's on there. Web 2 was about writing. You could create content, right? You could post on YouTube, on Facebook, on other places, right? And that's what we have now, only it's very centralized. And Web 3 is about owning as well. So you can read, you can write, but you can also own. A beautiful dream, right? A beautiful dream. So let's see how we're doing on this dream so far. So this is a chart of active users of several leading blockchains, right? So if you sum them all together, you'll probably come up to about maybe 6 million users a day, right? Which I would guess would be like a second-rate news website in Belgium, not a huge country, right? So we're still super early, right? We see some of the charts are going up, and it's great, and they will continue going up, but we're still very far from replacing Web 2 in terms of users, right? So we're still very small, and the capitalization of our all beautiful industry is smaller than that of Microsoft, one company, right? So we have all those thousands of projects, of coins, all of us here, all of this is worth less than Microsoft or less than Apple or less than Google and others, right? So is it like a reason to be sad? No, it actually means that we're just in the very beginning of this whole thing, right? The dream is huge. In the future, everything we're doing in Web 2 will be done in Web 3 in this or that way. But how do we get there, right? We have several problems today. User experience, let's be honest, it sucks. MetaMask sucks. Your hardware wallet experience sucks. It all sucks very bad. But people are solving that, right? Account abstraction is a great thing where you wouldn't need to store those cryptic 12 words and fear of losing your money and everything. People are working on that. Security, right? People, like the normies out there, the only thing they hear about crypto is hack, 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 stolen, stolen, stolen. Again, a lot of companies are taking care of that with all kinds of sophisticated approaches, AI, whatever. This will be solved. But today we're talking about data protection, right? Blockchains, when they were created and invented, they were inherently public. All the data is out there. Everything you're doing on Ethereum, Bitcoin, Polygon, Solana, it's all out there, right? It's all observable and is being observed by whoever wants to observe that. So do you want to live in a glass house? Can we imagine replacing Web 2 with our new beautiful Web 3 while all the data is completely public? Just think of it. People are talking about decentralized social, decentralized healthcare, decentralized science, decentralized everything. Can you imagine having all this just being there in the public? It is exactly like living in a glass house, but not just living in a glass house, but just having cameras all around your life and broadcasting that to the world all the time, right? So it just doesn't compute. It doesn't compute. We cannot replace Web 2 if all the user data is just an open book, glass house, whatever metaphor you prefer, right? So here we are, right? Just before us, the previous event is a DePIN event. DePIN is decentralized physical infrastructure, a wonderful industry. Now, I made an analysis of the leading companies in the space, and DePIN, for those, just refreshing, right? These companies are distributing, let's say, sensors like base stations for cellular or Wi-Fi, and rewarding users for hosting those base stations and creating coverage. Or they pay drivers to drive around and collect imagery of what's going on, right? So great ideas. But if we look at the state of data protection here, so first of all the data in DePIN is stored in a Web 2 fashion. It's all stored and observed by the project owners, right? Only IoTex, which is a great project, by the way, they helped me with building this, they have some privacy protection of data from themselves, in a way, on their roadmap. The user data is a lot of it is public, like one of the applications when you register your car, its name and model, make and model and year is stored on the blockchain next to your blockchain address. So if I know your address, I know which car you're driving. Probably not the best of ideas. And also some of your driving data may be on the blockchain as well. And all the payments are just observable for everyone, right? So if you are hosting a Wi-Fi router for crowd Wi-Fi, all the payments and also your identity is on the blockchain, and then somebody can even see your physical location of your router. Again, a huge leaking of privacy, right? Now, decentralized AI, which is kind of very close to DePIN. So all of your AI models that you're running, in most cases, the operators can see them, right? All of the user queries, save for 3 companies who are also part of our DeCC coalition. So in most of the companies, all the queries, so all the questions I'm asking to my OpenAI, for instance, which is seemingly decentralized and great, they're all observable, not very good. And all the usage metadata is just completely public, right? So the fact that I'm running a certain model or renting a certain server for a certain amount of time and paying a certain amount of money, it's all completely public on the chain. So you cannot really imagine anyone besides enthusiasts to use that at scale, right? So it's a problem. So what do we do? What do we do? And we see that some people are already doing some stuff to protect user data. So how do we do that, right? So DCC is the answer, right? Decentralized Confidential Computing is the answer to this. And let's see, so what does it mean, right? DCC is not, it's just a new narrative. It's not a new technology, right? So it's a set of technologies that have been around for quite some time, right? So I think everybody here heard about zero-knowledge proofs, ZKP. TE is the technology that Secret Network, and by the way, Marlon and Fala and others are using, and it's secure enclaves that are hardware-based, running inside Intel and other processors. MPC is multi-party computation, and FHE is fully homomorphic encryption. I just see CEO of Phoenix came over there. It's an FHE company, also part of this coalition, right? So it's a full technology zoo, right? There are at least 4 different technologies that some of them are, like TE, are relying on hardware, and others are relying on some very complicated math. But there are ways to use blockchain and keep the data protected, right? So TE, again, is CEO of SCRT Labs, and we are a pioneer in TE. Secret was the first and is now the longest running blockchain using this TE technology. And while TEs were kind of shunned 3-4 years ago because, well, you have to trust Intel. Yes, that's the downside. You have to trust Intel or Amazon or AMD or NVIDIA. But now they're becoming back in style. Why? Because TE is probably the most practical way to do confidential computing, right? You get a black box from your CPU vendor. And by black box, I mean that the owner of the machine cannot get inside, right? So you can run your code on somebody else's machine, because that's what blockchain is, right? You're running your stuff on somebody else's machines, but they cannot see what you're running. Okay, that's what DCC does, right? So you can do that with exactly the same programming model as you're used to, so you don't have to learn any new stuff. And the overhead is pretty small. Okay, so it's almost like running a regular blockchain, only everything is protected. So TEs are now getting back in style. Flashbots, which is the MEV infrastructure for Ethereum, is starting to use them for the new project. Cosmos guys are looking into that. This is a tweet from someone from Celestia. So TEs are indeed getting back in style, and we will be capitalizing on that along with our other ecosystem partners. So the question is, we had this full zoo of technology. So is one ring going to rule them all? And is it going to be just one of those technologies? Most surely not. And we're seeing already that each of those technologies has its advantages and disadvantages, right? I mentioned TEE. Well, it's easy to program, low overhead, but yeah, you have to trust some hardware manufacturers. So maybe combine it with some zero-knowledge proof to remove this, this problem and create verifiable computation, as some projects are already doing. So eventually, the end game would be a combination of those 4 different technologies to produce really strong, sustainable solutions with a small attack surface that cannot be hacked, or that are almost impossible to hack, right? So confidential computing must be universal, right? So it is a mistake, I think, to dream that everybody would leave Ethereum and move to Secret or some other confidential computing network. That's why we at Secret are building this confidential computing layer, allowing people on all those EVM chains already, and adding more like every month or every week. Also looking at Solana and some other ecosystems, so we're allowing them to still create their apps wherever they want, but use some of the confidential computing features that we provide, like store an encrypted piece of data from your Ethereum contract and use Secret and still reach the same result without migrating all your code base. So that's important. So DeCC must be also universal and available on as many chains as possible. So again, that's us. Okay, if any of you here are developers, this is our confidential computing layer. This, by the way, will be public, so look it up. And I hope I did a pretty good job convincing you guys that, again, if we want to reach our dream, we need to protect user data, and thus DeCC is absolutely inevitable. Thank you very much, and have a great DeCC day.